أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
We'll do a quick review from ayah 190. وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, and fight in the way of Allah. This is a permission that is being given to the Muslims, that they may fight and defend themselves now. Because up until now, the Muslims were not allowed to defend themselves or to take revenge from those who had been oppressing them, those who had been persecuting them for so long. And notice that fight in who? Fight in sabilillah, way of Allah. What does it mean by the way of Allah? What does it mean by fighting in the way of Allah? First of all, for the sake of Allah. Not to show off, not to use up all the ammunition you have, but rather for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, purely for His pleasure. And also to support His deen, to defend His deen. And secondly, it has also been said that fighting in the way of Allah means fighting according to the way that Allah has prescribed. Fighting according to the way that Allah has prescribed. So fight in the way of Allah. Who should you fight? الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ, those people who fight you. And what's the condition? وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا, do not transgress when it comes to fighting. Why? Because إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ, Allah does not like those people who transgress. So if you transgress, you will lose the help of Allah. وَقُتُلُوهُمْ حَيْثُ ثَقِفْتُمُوهُمْ, kill them wherever you find them. Kill who? Any disbeliever? Who does it refer to? Those people who are at war with you. Those people who have been fighting you. Those people who have been persecuting you, torturing you, who have not allowed you to live or survive. Therefore, because you're at war with them, whether you find them in the battlefield or you find them anywhere else, then what are you supposed to do? Fight them, kill them. Why? Because if you let them live, if you let them thrive, they're going to come back and attack you. They're going to come back and harass you. They're not going to let you live. And as we see from the seerah, that each time the Meccans, they were defeated, the Mushrik army was defeated, what did they do? They got together more strength and they came back to attack the Muslims. I mean, the Muslims were not even in Makkah anymore. They were living in Medina. But still they wouldn't let them live. They wouldn't let them live in peace. So therefore, because you're at war with them and because they're not going to let you live in peace, therefore, kill them wherever you find them. وَأَخْرِجُوهُمْ مِنْ حَيْثُ أَخْرَجُوكُمْ, and expel them from where they have expelled you. They didn't let you live over there, and you don't let them live over there. وَالْفِتْنَةُ أَشَدُّ مِنَ الْقَتْلِ. Why is killing allowed? Why is killing these people allowed? Because oppression or religious persecution that they have been directing towards you, that is worse than killing a person. If you think about it, when a person is killed, he is cut off from the pleasures of the dunya. Isn't it so? He's finished. That's it. But when a person is persecuted, he's not allowed to live, and he's not even dead. He's not allowed to enjoy his dunya, and he's not even allowed to practice his faith as he wants to. So therefore, fitna, it is worse than killing. But there is a condition. وَلَا تُقَاتِلُوهُمْ, and do not fight them, meaning those people who fight you, where? عِنْدَ الْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ, in the sacred mosque. And what is the Masjid al-Haram? The Kaaba and its surrounding area. Do not fight them in that place. Until and unless حَتَّى يُقَاتِلُوكُمْ فِيهِ, until and unless they fight you over there. فَإِنْ قَاتَلُوكُمْ فَقُتُلُوهُمْ. If they fight you over there, then obviously you have to defend yourselves. Therefore, you kill them over there. كَذَلِكَ جَزَاءُ الْكَافِرِينَ, such is a recompense of those who disbelieve. What is a recompense? That what they do, they get treated the same way. If they harm you, if they fight you, if they try to kill you, you will do the same thing. فَإِنْ انْتَهَوْا, then if they stop. Stop from what? From their opposition. Stop from their fighting you. Stop from their persecuting you. Stop from their disbelief. Why their disbelief? Because it was their disbelief that was leading them to persecuting the Muslims. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ, that indeed Allah is forgiving and He's also merciful. وَقَاتِلُوهُمْ and fight them حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةً until there is no fitna left. What does it mean by fitna? Religious persecution. And others say shirk. So we learn from this that the purpose of fighting in Islam is to put an end to fitna. The purpose of fighting, the purpose of war in Islam is what? To put an end to fitna. To put an end to intellectual oppression. To put an end to religious persecution. وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ لِلَّهِ and the deen is exclusively for Allah. So it shows another reason, another goal of the permission to fight in Islam is what? That the deen becomes exclusively, religion or worship becomes exclusively for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People object a lot to this. Even some Muslims do. Then why do you have to fight until the entire religion belongs to Allah, meaning Islam is the only dominant religion? Why? If you think of it, every religion, every ideology claims to be true. Isn't it? Every political system claims to be true. Every person who believes in something wants it to be in effect, wants it to be the law of the land where he's living. Isn't it so? Otherwise, why do all these ideologies and these religions exist? When a person believes in a particular religion, he wants that to be dominant. So similarly, Muslims consider Islam to be true, and therefore, the goal is that Islam should be dominant. Just as any other follower of any other religion would consider his religion to be true, and he would want his religion to be dominant. Simple as that. So there is no problem in this, because every religion has the same faith, has the same belief. So the goal is that until the religion is exclusively for Allah, meaning it becomes dominant. Why? Because when Islam is dominant, then what's the benefit? The Muslims are allowed to live, and others also are allowed to live. Those people who do not wish to become Muslim, even they're allowed to freely practice their religion. And we learn this from history, that in the Muslim lands, there were people, they were followers of other faiths, who were not Muslim, but they were so free that they even got benefits from the government. Like for example, we learn about a Jewish man who had to give the jizya. And because he was very old, he wasn't able to, and instead he would receive a stipend from the government. He would receive benefits from the government. So, why should Islam be dominant? Because Islam has tolerance in it. When Islam will thrive, then the Muslims can thrive, and the followers of other religions can also thrive. And we see that before Islam, when shirk was dominant, then what was the case? Only the mushrikeen could thrive. Any person who became a Muslim was to be finished, was persecuted. So therefore, this was the goal that the Muslims were given, that you make this deen dominant so that you can survive and others can also survive. فَإِنِ انْتَهَوْا then if they stop, فَلَا عُدْوَانَ إِلَّا عَلَى الظَّالِمِينَ then there is no transgression, there is no aggression except against the oppressors. What does it mean by this? That there is no aggression except on those people who do zulm. That only they will be punished, only they will be fought against. Only they will be punished and only they will be fought against. الشهر الحرام, the sacred month, بالشهر الحرام is for the sacred month. What does it mean by that? That if they fight you in the sacred month, then you fight them in the sacred month as well. Previously, the ruling concerning the sacred place was given. Previously, the ruling concerning the sacred place was given. Masjid al-Haram was mentioned before. Now, the ruling concerning the sacred time is being given. And what is that ruling? That if they fight you in a sacred month, then what are you going to do? You're going to fight them in the sacred month as well. Although You are not allowed to fight in the sacred month, but if they fight you in that, then obviously you have to defend yourselves. Just as previously we were told that if they fight you in the sacred place, then you fight them in the sacred place as well. And we learned that from several books of Tafseer that there is a specific reason for the revelation of this part of the ayah. Ibn Abbas, Ad-Dhahak, and many other Sahaba as well as the Tabi'een, they say that Allah's Messenger ﷺ, he went for Umrah on the 6th year of Hijrah. When did he go for Umrah? In the 6th year of Hijrah. Then the Mushrikeen prevented him from entering the sacred house, along with the Muslims who came with him. And this incident occurred during the sacred month of Dhul Qa'dah. When did it occur? In the sacred month, in the Shahr al-Haram. The Muslims were not allowed to enter the Haram to perform the Umrah. But the Mushrikeen, they eventually agreed to allow the Muslims to enter the Kaaba, to enter the Haram the next year. So what happened then? The Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba, they returned the next year in the sacred month and they performed Umrah at that time. So Ash-Shahr al-Haram bi-Shahr al-Haram is understood in two ways. First of all, that if they fight you in the sacred month, then you fight them in the sacred month. Secondly, if they stopped you from coming into the Haram in the sacred month, then we sent you back to the Haram in the sacred month the next year. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took revenge. And He sent the Muslims the following year in that same sacred month. Ash-Shahr al-Haram bi-Shahr al-Haram. It is also said that the Mushrikeen, they asked the Prophet ﷺ if he was not allowed to fight in the sacred months. And the Prophet ﷺ said, yes, he was not allowed to fight in the sacred months. And because of this, they had intended to attack the Muslims in a sacred month. So therefore, the permission has been given over here that if they attack you in the sacred month, then you should also fight them. Because you have to defend yourselves. So you understand the meaning of Ash-Shahr al-Haram bi-Shahr al-Haram? Then Allah says, وَالْحُرُمَاتُ قِصَاص. And for all violations is legal retribution. What is hurumat? Two meanings. First of all those things that have to be respected. Like human life, a sacred place, a sacred time. And secondly, hurumat means prohibitions, violations. Any haram action that is committed. So for the sacred things, or for the violations, there is legal retribution. What does it mean by that? Basically over here, the reason behind the permission to fight in the sacred place or the sacred time is being given. What is the reason for the permission to fight back in the sacred month or the sacred time? The reason is that for all violations, there has to be legal retribution. If someone violates the sanctity of your life and attacks you, qisas has to be taken. If somebody violates the sanctity of the sacred time or of the sacred month or of the sacred place, then you have to fight them. And this is qisas, like for like. You will not wait for the sacred month to be over. No. You will not wait to leave the haram. No. If someone violates the sanctity of anything, then qisas has to be taken. Legal retribution has to be taken. Such an action cannot be ignored, and punishment for such an action cannot be delayed. وَالْحُرُمَاتُ قِصَاص. So you understand the meaning of al-hurumatu qisas now? We see over here that all of these points, they're emphasizing the same message. And what is that message? That you have to fight these people now, meaning you are allowed to fight these people now. Why? Because you have been persecuted for long. If they fight you in the sacred place, you fight them over there. If they fight you in a sacred time, you fight them at that time. Why is this being emphasized so much? Why? Because you see, the Muslims, they were not comfortable with fighting in the haram. They were not comfortable with fighting at a sacred time, in the sacred month. This main point is being mentioned in several ways. Ash-shahrul haram, bish-shahril haram, wal-hurumatu qisas. Why? To satisfy the Muslims, to assure the Muslims that if you do defend yourselves, you are not at fault. So basically, the same point is being emphasized through different ways to comfort the Muslims that if you defend yourselves, you are not at fault. No matter which place or which time it is. فَمَنِ اعْتَدَى عَلَيْكُمْ, whoever transgressed against you, فَاعْتَدُوا عَلَيْهِ, then you assault against him, بِمِثْلِ مَا اعْتَدَى عَلَيْكُمْ, in the same manner that he transgressed against you. What does it mean by this? That whoever crosses the limits in dealing with you, whether it is by taking your wealth unjustly, or it is by killing some person, or it is by striking you, no matter what they do, if they commit any kind of transgression against you, then what are you going to do in return? Do the same when taking revenge. Do not exceed. Take revenge, but do not do injustice. Take revenge, but do not do injustice. Because the condition is, be mithli, in the same. And the same means same time, same place, same manner. So if they kill you, you will kill them. If they hurt you, you will hurt them. Bimithli, in the same manner. Now there is a question over here. Does it mean that if they kill the Muslims and if they mutilate the dead bodies of the Muslims are allowed to mutilate their dead? No, it doesn't mean this. What it means by bimithl is that whatever they have done, they've killed your people. So what are you going to do? Kill their people. You're not going to do it in the exact same manner, same brutal manner that they have done. Because from the hadith we clearly learn about, I told you about the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ clearly stated that do not mutilate the dead. So we're not allowed to do that. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ, and fear Allah when taking revenge. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الْمُتَّقِينَ, and know that Allah is with those people who have taqwa, meaning He supports them. So what do we learn over here? What are the main teachings over here? That first of all, do not initiate the transgression. Do not initiate the fighting. You will only fight someone when they've been harming you. You will only fight someone when they fight you. If somebody is at peace with you, there's absolutely no problem between the two of you, then there's no need to fight. Absolutely no need to fight. So first of all, do not initiate the transgression. And secondly, if somebody does transgress against you, then do not be overcome by your emotions in the extreme circumstances even. Many times, one person says something hurtful to us, and we say 10 things to them which are hurtful. Similarly, within children, what happens? One child just hits the other child, and the other child will hit him 5 times, twice. So in the most extreme circumstances even, do not be overcome by your emotions. Fear Allah, and remember that your fighting should be fi sabilillah, according to the teachings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. So deen teaches us justice. But we learn that although there is permission to take revenge, to defend yourselves, definitely forgiving and overlooking is the best approach. It doesn't mean that you keep suffering. Like the Muslims, initially they were told to be patient, no matter how much they had to suffer, forgive and overlook, until eventually they were allowed to take revenge. And even when they were allowed to take revenge, if anybody stopped, if anybody repented, they were to leave them. Just imagine, if Khalid ibn Walid, if Wahshi, if Hind, if Abu Sufyan, Umar radhiyallahu anhu, if they were not forgiven. Just imagine, If they were not forgiven, what would happen? Would the Muslims be victorious in the same way? No. Would they be successful in the same way? No. So in forgiving, there are benefits for the deen, and there are also benefits for the dunya. We are allowed to take revenge, but if we forgive, that is obviously much better.
Let's listen to the recitation of these verses.
Let's continue our lesson. Then Allah says, وَأَنْفِقُوا, and you all spend. Where? فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, in the way of Allah. أنفقوا is from the root letters, nun, fa, qa. And infaq is to spend. Over here, the Muslims are being told to spend in the way of Allah. What does it mean by the way of Allah? The deen of Allah. To support His deen, to defend His deen, in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does it mean by spending in the way of Allah then? How will you spend in the way of Allah? We understand the meaning of in the way of Allah. How are you going to spend? What does it mean by that? What comes to your mind? For example, charity. Why? Because you spend in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What else is included? How else will you spend in the way of Allah? Funding projects that promote the deen, that support the deen, that teach the deen, that spread the deen, that teach people about deen. So infaq fi sabilillah includes spending in ways of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, such as spending in charity, spending in hajj, spending in any act of worship, whether it is purchasing a hijab with which you will pray salah, or it is purchasing a particular mat on which you will pray salah, for example. Anything which helps you in obeying Allah, which is in obedience to Allah, if you spend in that way, that is what? Spending in the way of Allah. Secondly, spending in the way of Allah includes spending in order to support the deen, in order to promote the deen, so that people learn about the deen, so that people get to know about the message of the deen. What does this deen teach people? Similarly, spending in the way of Allah includes spending in defense of the deen. So for example, the previous verses, they talk about jihad. So, spending in jihad as well, wherever obviously that is applied. Now the question is, we've been told to spend. What is it that we have to spend? What is it that we have to spend? Spend what? What comes to your mind? Money. Money is the only thing that comes to our mind. But if you think of it, money is not the only resource that we have been given. Money is not the only resource with which we can support the deen, with which we can obey Allah. There are many other resources that we have been given, such as time, energy, what else? Our talents, our abilities. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given every single person some ability, some talent. Some are good at talking to people. Some are very good in academics. Some are very good in making things on the computer. Everybody has their own talent. And remember, every person has some talent. Nobody has been given no talent. Find your talent. Find the skill that Allah has given you. Think about what is it that you're best at? What is it that you enjoy doing? And find a way of using that for the sake of Allah. To support the deen. To spread His deen. So, أنفقوا في سبيل الله. Spend in the way of Allah. Any resource that Allah has given you, use that to support the deen. وَلَا تُلْقُوا, and do not put بِأَيْدِيكُمْ, with your hands, إِلَى التَّهْلُكَةِ, to the destruction. تُلْقُوا is from the root letters lam, qaf, ya, laqiya. Laqiya means to meet, and alqa, yulqi, ilqa means to throw something, to cast something in front of someone. So la tulqu, meaning do not throw. Do not throw what? بِأَيْدِيكُمْ with your own hands. Aidi is the plural of yad. What does yad mean? Hand. Aidi, hands. لَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ has been understood in two ways. First of all, do not throw with your own hands. Now what is the object? Do not throw what with your own hands to destruction? That object is not mentioned. It is silent. And what it means is, do not throw yourselves by your own hands to destruction. So what's the object? Yourselves. Do not throw yourselves to destruction. Secondly, it has been said that بِأَيْدِيكُمْ, this ba is extra, and لَا تُلْقُوا بِأَيْدِيكُمْ means do not throw your hands. And hands represent us. Hands represent our actions, our efforts. So do not let your efforts, your actions, yourselves go to waste by throwing them where? For destruction. The word tahluka is from the root letters ha, lam, kaf. The word halak is from the same root. What does halak mean? Destruction. And it is when something or someone dies, when something is wasted, when something is destroyed, it is ruined, it is annihilated. So do not throw yourselves, your efforts, your works, your deeds for destruction. What does it mean by this destruction? And what does it mean by this statement? Basically, what is being said over here is that spend in the way of Allah and do not put yourselves for destruction by not spending. In other words, if you do not spend in the way of Allah, what are you doing? You're destroying yourself. You're harming yourself. We know that money is very important when it comes to success. If you have a brilliant idea, you have a brilliant idea for a particular business, you have a brilliant idea for a particular product, and you want to make it and you want to sell it. Brilliant idea. But if you don't have money, if you don't have resources, is that brilliant idea ever going to be in effect? Is it ever going to bring any benefit to you? No. And that idea that you have, eventually it's going to be finished. So similarly, when it comes to the deen, don't destroy yourselves by not spending in the deen. Remember that halak, destruction, is of two types. First of all, tahluka, destruction, is hissi, meaning it is tangible. What does it mean by this in the context? To throw yourselves for destruction. For example, a person jumps into the fire. What is he doing? He's offering himself, he's throwing himself for annihilation, for destruction, for death. Or for example, a person jumps into the sea, into the ocean, in the middle of the ocean. He just jumps in there. And he knows that he's going to drown. He doesn't know how to swim. And there is nothing that he can swim to and save himself from. Or similarly, a person sleeps under a wall that is on the verge of collapsing. What is he doing? He's offering himself for destruction. So anything of the sort that a person does that will literally, physically destroy him, physically kill him. Secondly, tahluka, halak, is ma'nawi, meaning it is intangible. For example, a person, and in the context in particular it is ma'nawi, that a person abandons struggling in the way of Allah, he doesn't spend in the way of Allah. And eventually what is he doing? He is bringing destruction to his deen and also the deen of his children. Because if you think about it, the deen needs to be supported. The deen needs to be taught. It needs to be spread. It needs to be propagated. And for doing that, you need money. For example, if you want your children to learn the Quran, if you yourself want to learn the Quran, what do you have to do? Imagine if somebody wants to teach the Quran. What do they need? They need a place. Similarly, They need the equipment over there. They need the desks over there. They need the books over there. The people need to come. They need to have uniform. They need to purchase their books. They need to purchase their stationery, their notebooks, so much more. All of that requires money. And if a person does not spend money on this and he says, no, deen is simple, don't spend any money on it, okay, how are you going to learn the deen? Just imagine if the people who have contributed to make this institute, to support this institute, imagine if there was no electricity over here. Imagine if the bills were not being paid. Imagine if there was no microphone, there was no speaker system. Just imagine. Could you learn the deen properly? No, you couldn't. And if you wouldn't learn the deen properly, then what would happen? Your children, the generations to come, your families, how would they learn? So over here, we are being told about the importance of spending in the way of Allah to support the deen. Because if you don't support the deen, if you don't spend in the way of Allah, then what's going to happen? You're bringing destruction to your deen and the deen of your children, the deen of your families, the deen of the society. And also, if you don't spend in jihad, if you don't spend to defend yourselves, what's going to happen? Your enemy is going to be stronger than you, and they're going to come and finish you. That's it. And literally, in the physical sense, you will be destroyed. You see, we spend in different places. We spend on our children, we spend on our families, we spend on our relatives. Why? Because it brings pleasure to us, it brings happiness to us. When we give something tangible to a person, for example, a nice bag, a nice pair of shoes, a nice car, food to eat, then we're only helping them in the material sense. But if we spend in the propagation of the deen, then we're not just spending, we're not just promoting the physical well-being of people, but we're promoting the mental, the spiritual, the emotional well-being of people. And remember, if people have every material benefit and they lack spiritual benefit, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to survive. You can give a person millions and millions of dollars, but he's not going to get that happiness, that contentment, unless and until he is spiritually satisfied. He is emotionally and mentally satisfied. So here we're being told to spend in the way of the deen. And then Allah says, وَأَحْسِنُوا, and do ihsan. What does it mean by ihsan? Meaning be generous. Be generous when it comes to spending in the deen. Don't just suffice on just giving your zakat, or don't just suffice on giving only $10 or only 1% of what you earn. No. Be generous. Give it your best. If you want the best, give it your best. What is ihsan when it comes to worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Worshipping Allah as though you can see Him. And what is ihsan with people? That when they don't do good, you do good in return. Those who do not spend upon you, you spend upon them. So why should you do ihsan? Because inna Allah yuhibbul muhsinin. Indeed, Allah loves those people who do ihsan. So over here in this ayah, the command to spend in the way of Allah has been given, which includes zakat. But over here, it's not just zakat that we're being commanded to pay. It's more than that. Ahsinu. Be generous. Give more than that. Because when you spend in the deen, when you spend for the cause of the deen, then you're not just benefiting yourself, but you're benefiting the society at large. And if you don't support the deen, then you're going to harm yourself, your deen, as well as with regards to your worldly affairs. Because just imagine, when deen is promoted, when deen is taught, what do people learn? Fear of Allah. That fear of Allah leads them to being honest, being just, being truthful. Imagine a society in which people are not honest, in which people are not truthful, in which people don't fear Allah. What are they going to do? They're going to begin to cheat one another. They're going to begin to lie to one another. They're not going to respect human life. They're not going to respect other people. And eventually, you are also going to suffer. Even if you're very righteous in your own house, but because you're not working to spread the deen, you are going to suffer. And we learn about so many places where innocent people suffer. If you don't promote the deen, if you don't promote the fear of Allah, then it's not just the other people who don't have deen who are going to suffer, you are also going to suffer. So do not throw yourselves for destruction by not spending in the deen. Spend in the way of Allah. We spend so much on our weddings, on our groceries, on so many things. We spend so much. When it comes to buying something, a pair of clothes or a handbag or something like that, we don't even think twice. We're like, yes, I like it, it's nice, I want to buy it, I'll get it, even if it's unrealistically expensive. But when it comes to the deen, we think that other people should spend. We think everything should be done by its own, and we don't have to put in any effort. We go to a masjid and we find it dirty. We find nobody's there, and we say, what poor management. Did you do anything to support the management? Did you go and volunteer at the masjid? We complain about a masjid being very dirty, a masjid being empty. Did you go pray salah over there? Did you go to the events that the management had organized? No. If they don't get the support, how are they going to thrive? How are they going to continue? Many times we complain without realizing that the problem is there because we are not involved. The problem is there, why? Because we are not involved. We go use the masjid, but how many times do we actually give sadaqah to the masjid? How many times? We go benefit from the clean masjid, from the clean carpets, from the food that is given, from the iftar that is provided. But really, how many times do we think of supporting the masjid as well? So, أنفقوا في سبيل الله. Spend in the way of Allah. Not just your money, your time, your energy, your talents. All of this talent that Allah has given you, use it for the deen. Give the haqq of Allah. A little bit at least. And many times we see that people, they come learn the deen, and they move on. They go do something else completely, and they don't benefit the deen. Yes, it is okay for you to move on. Go learn more, go work, go study more. But the talent that Allah has given you, use it in some ways to help the deen. In some way or the other. We look at a flyer, and we're like, oh, so boring, so unattractive. We look at a book, and we say, it's written so poorly. Did you put in the effort to learn the deen? To improve your skills? And then support the deen? أنفقوا في سبيل الله. Spend in the way of Allah. Let's listen to the recitation.
Assalamu
alaikum. I went to the masjid near my place last week, and they were just talking about how much debt they have for the last year or so. So it was like $95,000 that they were in debt. So like the overall budget was even more expensive than that. So they were like, we couldn't even like fulfill the entire budget that we have. And there's like a madrasa for kids. The ladies section, it has like a chandelier, it has AC and everything. So like, if we don't like complete the entire $95,000 in that one night that we had that day for Tarawih, like the ladies section could be closed, the madrasa could be closed, the AC would be turned off. So like after building masjids, we have to also maintain the masjids as well and contribute to that as well.
And if we don't spend on that and the madrasa is closed, how are the children going to learn to recite the Quran?
Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to share an example of just this morning when I went to go pray. Over there, the sister, when we finish praying and we leave, she stands at the door and she says, give in the way of Allah and stuff. And they have a whole project that they want to do. They want to create a madrasa and everything for the students and create a community center. But the sisters there, what they do is when they leave the masjid and she's there standing by the door and asking to donate. I know some people can't donate, but you know what they say? They say, oh my God, she's always asking. Like, she's always asking us. She's never not asking. So the sister heard this. So the sister said yesterday that she heard that the Sikh temple, whenever they go to the temple, they have to pay $2. And she goes, every time you come to the masjid, you pray 5 times a day. And she goes, every time you're going to come in, it's $2. That's $10 a day. And she goes, all I ask is like $1 a day, It's not much. And she goes like, during the regular days you buy coffee, right? Just put your coffee money in. It's not much, just whatever change you have.
The thing is, we go anywhere. We go to any place. For example, you go to the mall. The things that you buy from there, they're more expensive compared to if you purchase them online. Why? Because they're more expensive so that the money can go in maintaining the mall. Anywhere you go, any place you go, you benefit from. You go to school, you go to university. You go to school, you have to pay taxes for that. Any place you benefit from, you have to pay. Why is it that we go to the masjid, we go to an Islamic institute, we think that everything should be done on donations and not on our contributions? We have to actively contribute as well. And again, I don't want you to just focus on the money aspect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a raziq, and He's the one who provides. I want you to focus more on contributing your talents and your time, your energy, your hours when it comes to the deen. Literally sometimes, the entire work is left on only one or two people. And they're sacrificing their days, their nights, their work, everything to work for the deen. And other people, they stay at home, they come, they complain, make a fuss, and go back home. If you have a problem, come and try to fix it yourself. Volunteer yourself. Help out yourself. Many times people will give a lot of ideas, a lot of suggestions. We should have this, and we should do this, and we should do this. But when it comes to doing, nobody's there. And sometimes, even when we have good ideas, we keep our mouths shut out of the fear that then we will have to do it. Okay, fine, don't do it. Don't give those ideas. You yourself have benefited from the Qur'an and you don't want other people to benefit from the Qur'an. How selfish is that? The Qur'an has benefited you. You have acquired the love of Allah by studying the Qur'an. Don't you want the same for other people? Sometimes people don't come. Sometimes you yourself are willing to work for the deen, to serve the deen, and other people don't cooperate with you. And which is the lesson that we're learning in the next ayah, that complete the Hajj and Umrah. When you've started a good deed, whether it is learning the deen or joining a particular course to study the Qur'an, then complete it. Don't leave it halfway through. When you've undertaken any responsibility, any task for the sake of Allah, then do it fully. Be respectful when it comes to dealing with the deen. I learned somewhere that professional people, they have several qualities, and one of them is that they complete what they start. They finish what they start. They don't leave it unfinished. Let's move on to the next ayah. وَأَتِمُّ الْحَجَّ وَالْعُمْرَةَ. And complete the Hajj and the Umrah. For who? لِلَّهِ, for Allah. Atimmu is from the root letters ta, mim, mim. And tamam is to complete, to perfect something, to complete something in a way that nothing is left undone, that nothing is left out. Every single aspect is covered. Atimmu, complete, meaning fully carry out, fully complete. What? Al-Hajj wal-Umrata. Al-Hajj is from the root letters Ha, Jim, Jim, and Hajj literally means to intend, to aim at a certain place, at a certain target. And Hajj is the journey that a person undertakes, and it is intended. What's the goal? A person goes to Makkah, a person goes to certain places at a certain time for the purpose of pilgrimage. So complete the Hajj wal-Umrah. Hajj is the major pilgrimage, it is the annual pilgrimage, and Umrah is a minor pilgrimage. What's the difference between Hajj and Umrah? Hajj is done only at one time of the year, and Umrah can be done at any time of the year. So do it for who? Lillahi, for Allah. These verses that we will study from now on, they describe the rules of performing Hajj and Umrah during times of peace, and also during times of war, or during times of uncertainty, sickness, illness, etc. Over here, أتم الحج والعمرة لله, we learn two things. First of all, we learn that once a person makes the intention to perform Hajj or Umrah, then he should fulfill that intention and he should complete the Hajj. He should complete the Umrah. He should not leave it unfinished. He should not leave halfway through, leaving his Hajj or leaving his Umrah incomplete. Atimmu, complete it. Fulfill all of its pillars. Carry it out fully and thoroughly. Don't just do some rituals and leave out others. No. Complete it fully. And this is a principle for anything in life that we can apply. That when you begin a task, then complete it. When you begin any task, then complete it. Don't leave it halfway through. Whether it is a conversation, or it is cleaning, or it is folding the laundry, or it is reading a particular book, or it is a particular course that a person has taken, atimmu, complete it. Because if you don't complete it at that time, or if you don't complete it at all, then what happens? You don't give the haqq of that thing, and you don't benefit from it fully either. If you read a book halfway through, and you say, oh, I didn't really enjoy it. Well, the thing is that the main part was at the end of the book. You didn't reach the end, so how could you enjoy the book? You couldn't have. And you can't benefit from the book either. And if you go back to it at a later time, what's going to happen? You're going to have forgotten everything that you had read so far. You're going to have to read it all over again. Just imagine you're cooking a meal. You're preparing some food. If you're cooking chicken, and you cook it halfway through and you leave it pink inside, is that healthy? Is it safe? Is it safe? It's not. You say, no problem, it's okay. I'm too tired now. Just eat it as it is. You can't do that. It's not safe at all. And there's going to be no flavor. It's not going to be enjoyable at all. It's not going to be pleasant at all. So this is a principle that we should apply with regards to every matter of our lives. Complete what you start. Finish what you start. Over here we're being told to complete Hajj and Umrah. Why? Because they're acts of worship. They're acts of worship. Previously, we learned about fasting. وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ. Complete the number of the fasts as well. Don't leave them incomplete. If you have to miss out a few fasts from the month of Ramadan because of illness or some other problem, then make sure you complete the number at a later date. And this is also being respectful towards a particular task. If you don't complete it, if you don't finish it, what does that mean? You don't care about it anymore. And if you complete it, if you do it fully, it shows that you respect that. Hajj and Umrah are acts of worship that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained. And out of respect for Allah, we should complete these tasks. We should complete these rituals. The second thing that we learn from this part of the ayah is lillahi, for Allah. That perform the Hajj and Umrah for whose sake? For the sake of Allah. Only. Sincerely for the sake of Allah. Not to show off. Not for any other reason. Do it to attain His pleasure in the way that He has prescribed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Imran, ayah 97, وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. It is a right of Allah upon the people that they should perform the Hajj of the house. For who? Whoever is able to perform the Hajj. But it is the right of Allah. So when a person performs the Hajj or Umrah, he should do it exclusively for the sake of Allah. And when a person does something exclusively for the sake of Allah, he should do it with ihsan. He should do it in the best manner. And what is the best manner of performing Hajj and Umrah? Completing it, fulfilling it, doing it according to Sunnah. We learned that the Arabs, the pre-Islamic Arabs, they would also perform the Hajj and Umrah. But they had changed the Hajj and Umrah a lot. They had changed the rituals. They had changed the practices. And for them, Hajj was more like an annual festival. It was like a festival for them. People got together, they traveled, they lived together for so many days, they ate, they had poetry sessions in which the best poets would come and they would say their poetry. And it lacked the spirit of the deen. So over here we're being told when you go for Hajj, when you go for Umrah, you're not going for a vacation. You're not going for a festival. You're not going for fun. You're going for worship. You're going for ibadah. Keep the purpose in mind. Keep the goal in mind. فَإِنْ أُحْصِرْتُمْ. But if you were prevented. Here, from now onwards, we will see different situations that occur, preventing a person from completing the Hajj or the Umrah that he has intended to perform. So far we've been told, once you make the niyyah, then complete it. But فَإِنْ أُحْصِرْتُمْ. But if you were restricted, if you were prevented, from what? From completing the Hajj or Umrah. أُحْصِرْتُمْ is from the root letters Ha, Sad, Ra. Hasr. Hasr, ihsar, is to restrict, to constrain something, to limit something. Many times I've told you that innama is kalima hasr. Why? Because it limits the meaning, it constricts the meaning, nothing but this. From the same root is the word hasir, which is used for a prison, because it confines the person who is inside. And ihsar is to prevent someone, to stop someone from doing something, from fulfilling something. And when does that happen? When there's a hurdle, when there's a difficulty, when there's a problem. So فَإِنْ أُحْصِرْتُمْ. If you are prevented from completing the Hajj or the Umrah, whatever the situation may be. For example, a person wears the ihram, a person puts on the ihram, and he gets to the airport to leave, and he finds out that there was something wrong with his passport, or there was something wrong with his visa, and he's not able to go for Hajj. Or for example, a person leaves, he makes the intention to perform Hajj, and he travels, and he finds out that back home, something major has happened, which is why he has to return home immediately, without any delay. So, in that case also, he is unable to complete his Hajj or Umrah. And previously, people would travel in the form of caravans, on their camels, on their horses, and sometimes while traveling through the desert or traveling through the land, they would be attacked, they would be looted. So in that case also, they would be unable to continue the journey. Similarly, the Prophet ﷺ and the companions, they left in the 6th year of Hijrah to perform Umrah. And what happened? The mushrikeen, they did not allow them to perform Umrah. But they agreed that they can come the following year. So the situation could be any. It could vary. But the main thing is that a person makes the niyyah to perform Hajj or Umrah, and he goes, he puts on the ihram, but he is unable to complete the Hajj or Umrah. So then what should he do? فَمَا اسْتَيْسَرَ. Then whatever was easily available, مِنَ الْهَدْيِ, of the sacrificial animal. What does it mean by فَمَا? Fa means فَعَلَيْكُمْ, then upon you, meaning then it is a must upon you to give the ransom. And what is that? Whatever was easily available of the sacrificial animal. Istaysara is from the root letters Ya, Sin, Ra. Yusr means ease, and istaysara, it became easy, it was easily available, it was feasible, you can obtain with ease. What is it that you can obtain with ease? Min al-hadi. Hadi is from the root letters Ha, Dal, Ya. Any other word from the same root? Hidayah, guidance. Any other word from the same root? Hadiyah. What does that mean? Gift. What is a gift? Something that was with you, and what do? You give it to someone else. So it goes from the hand of one person to the hand of another. It goes from the possession of one person to the possession of another. What is hidayah? That a person was living in a particular way, before. He learned about the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes, the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala approves of, and what does he do? He changes. He changes his ways. He was at one point before. He did certain things before. And now, after learning, after knowing, he changes. So basically, we get the meaning of transferring or moving from one point to another. Hadi is the animal that is offered as a sacrifice. What is a hadi? An animal that is offered as a sacrifice. Why is it called hadi? Because it is sent to the vicinity of the haram. It is sent to the vicinity of the haram to be slaughtered over there. What is it? An animal that is sent to the haram to be slaughtered over there. For example, at Eid, what do? When you slaughter the animal, do you have to send it to the haram? No. You do it wherever you are. But this sacrificial animal is sent in particular to the haram. So if a person intends to perform Hajj or Umrah and he is unable to complete it, then what is he supposed to do? He is supposed to offer a sacrificial animal. And this animal is going to be sacrificed where? In the area of haram. If you remember, with regards to fasting, we learned that if a person is unable to fast, then what is he supposed to do? He is supposed to make up the fast later on. That's the primary thing. And obviously if he's unable to, he's old, then what is he going to do? He's going to give the fidyah. But the main thing is that he has to make up the fasts afterwards. But for Hajj and Umrah, over here in particular, he doesn't have to perform the Hajj or Umrah another time. But what is he going to do? He's just going to offer the sacrifice, and that's it. What else is he going to do? وَلَا تَحْلِقُوا رُؤُوسَكُمْ. And do not shave your heads. تَحْلِقُ is from the root letters ha, lam, qaf. Halq. Halq is to shave or to completely remove the hair. Halq is to shave off or to completely remove the hair. So لا تحلقوا رؤوسكم, and رؤوس is a plural of رأس. Do not shave your heads. حتى until يبلغ الهدي, the sacrificial animal reaches. Where does it reach? محله, its place, its destination. The word mahil, what do you think the root letters are? Ha, lam, lam. Halal means lawful. And mahil begins with mim. What does it mean? It's a noun. Which type of noun is it? Mahil, in particular, is the noun of place or time, which is called ism zarf. What is it called? Ism zarf. Just as the word maghrib, mashriq. Similarly, mahil. Okay? So mahil is the place or the time of making an animal halal. In other words, the place or time of slaughtering the animal. So over here we're told, do not shave your heads until the sacrificial animal has reached its place of slaughter. What does it mean by this, do not shave your heads? We learned that one of the restrictions of ihram is that a person cannot cut or shave his hair off. When a person makes the niyyah to perform Hajj or Umrah, he puts on the ihram, he comes into the state of ihram, then he's not allowed to cut his hair. And when a person gets out of the ihram, then what is he supposed to do? He's supposed to cut the hair, trim the hair, or shave the hair. Now over here, the person made the intention to perform Hajj or Umrah, but he was unable to complete the Hajj or Umrah. So eventually, what is he going to do? He has to cut his hair. But over here, we're told, do not cut your hair until the sacrificial animal that you're supposed to offer, it reaches the place or time of being sacrificed. What does it mean by this mahil? Mahil is understood in two ways in the context. First of all, it is understood as the time when the animal is to be slaughtered. And what is that time? When is that animal going to be slaughtered? It is the day of Eid or the day after. Yawmun Nahr. So don't shave your heads until Yawmun Nahr. Secondly, it is said that Mahil refers to the place of slaughtering the animal. And what is that place? The Haram. And in particular, the valley of Mina. And others have said that the place refers to the place where the person is. For example, when the Prophet ﷺ and the companions, when they went for Umrah in the 6th year, and they weren't able to complete their Umrah, then what did they do? They sacrificed their animals where they were, at Hudaybiyah. So don't get out of Ihram until the animal is sacrificed. Basically, this is what the main point is.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. MashaAllah, I'm very happy to see that whenever she is asking you about the roots, you know a lot. And this is a key to learn Arabic language. Because when you know the root, the base of the language, you can use your common sense and you can learn easily. May Allah make it easy for you to learn and understand and ponder upon Quran, and you get benefit from it as much as you can. And you say Quran is such a blessing that there's nothing like that. No matter what kind of circumstances you face or you are in, never leave it. Once you have grabbed it or you've taken it, never put it back now. It should be with you all your life. Inshallah ta'ala. So that is the best companion. Everyone leaves, but Quran doesn't leave. And you should not leave. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وَلَا تَحْلِقُوا رُؤُوسَكُمْ حَتَّى يَبْلُغَ الْهَدِيُ مَحِلَّهُ. And do not shave your heads until the sacrificial animal has reached its place of slaughter. So once the animal reaches its place of slaughter, the animal is slaughtered, and then you shave your heads. Basically, you end the ritual of Hajj or Umrah at that time. Whatever that, the niyyah was off, the person leaves the ihram, he ends the ihram, and then his Hajj or Umrah, it comes to an end. Now another situation has been mentioned. And what is that? فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا. Then whoever among you was ill, أو or bihi with him, adhan an injury, where min ra'sihi from his head, meaning in his head. The word adha is from the root letters hamza, dal, ya. And adha is used for a slight injury. What is it? A slight injury. And it is used for any injury or any ailment that a living being suffers, whether it is physical or otherwise. So for example, a human being is suffering from a headache, or an animal has a wound. So it is any ailment that a living being suffers. That is what adha is. But remember that adha is a slight injury. It's not a huge or very major injury. It's very slight. So, if the person is ill, or he has an injury where in his head. For example, a person got hurt and he has stitches on his head. So this is what is being spoken about. Now, this part of the ayah has been understood in two ways. First of all, it has been said that this is a continuation of the previous issue. What was the previous issue? That a person intends to perform Hajj or Umrah, he leaves and he is unable to do so. What is he going to do? He is going to give a hadi, and then once the hadi is slaughtered, then he comes out of the state of ihram. But he has to wait until the animal is slaughtered. But let's say a person had an accident, which is why he was not able to complete the Hajj. And he suffered some head injury. And for the injury, stitches have to be put on the head. Or for example, some treatment has to be given. And for that, the hair has to be removed. What was said? you have to wait until the animal is slaughtered and then you can cut the hair. But if a person is sick and there's an adha in his head and the hair needs to be removed, then what is he going to do? He's going to suffer for like the next week or two, and then eventually when the animal is slaughtered on the Yawmun Nahr, then he's going to open up his ihram? No. Then an option has been given over here. And what is that? What does the ayah say? فَفِدْيَةٌ. Then a fidya is to be given. So this is one way that this part of the ayah has been understood. Secondly, it has been said that this is another situation. The first scenario was that a person leaves for Hajj, he's unable to complete it, and he's going to give a hadi. That's it. Another situation is that a person goes for Hajj and he becomes ill. He falls ill. Or he has to cut the hair before the Hajj is completed. So in other words, he cannot continue the Hajj because of the illness. The previous case was general. And this case is specific to illness, to sickness. He has to cut the hair. It's a specific situation. Then what is he going to do? فَفِدْيَةٌ. Then a fidya. And what is that fidya? مِنْ صِيَامٍ. Of fasting. He has to fast in order to give the fidya. How many fasts? 3 fasts. It's not mentioned over here, but we learn from the hadith. أو or صدقة, a sadaqah, a charity. Which charity? What does it mean by this charity? Feeding 6 masakin, 6 needy people. أو or nusuk, offering a sacrifice. The word nusuk is from the root letters nun, sin, kaf. And the word nusuk, we learned the plural of the word manasik earlier in the first juz. Arina manasikana. So nusuk is used for sacrifice, for slaughter. And the word nusuk is also used for a ritual act of worship. Especially those of Hajj. Especially the rituals of Hajj. Over here in the context, nusuk means slaughtering a sheep or a goat. So basically, a person becomes ill, he's unable to continue the Hajj, he has to get out of the state of ihram. So what is he going to do? He is going to give the fidya. What is that fidya? Either fasting or sadaqah or nusuk. You see the aw over here? Aw over here gives the meaning of freedom of choice. It gives meaning of takhir, meaning you can do whatever you find easy for yourself. Because you see, every person who is ill is in a different situation. One person may be able to fast. Another person may not have any energy in him and he may not be able to fast. So, he has the option of giving sadaqah. But he feels bad. He wants to give more. So what can he do? He can offer the sacrifice. So different options have been given. Whatever is suitable for a person, whatever is possible for a person, he can do that. Al-Bukhari, he reported that he heard Abdullah ibn Ma'qil saying that a person asked about this fidya, and Ka'b radiyallahu anhu, he said that this ayah was revealed concerning my case. He said that this particular ayah was revealed concerning my case. But it is also for you in general. See how proud he was? That this ayah was revealed for me, for my problem. But it can also apply to you. I was carried to Allah's Messenger, and the lice were falling in great numbers on my face. Because sometimes when you're living in the desert, because of the different situation that a person could be in, if you get lice and they quickly spread, and you're not allowed to cut your hair, you're not even allowed to trim your hair, they spread very quickly, especially with the heat, the dampness. So there were so much lice that they were falling onto his face. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I never thought that your ailment had reached to such an extent as I see. I never thought that it was that bad. Can you afford a sheep for sacrifice? Can you offer a sheep for sacrifice? So I replied in the negative, because he could not afford to offer a sheep for sacrifice. So the Prophet ﷺ then said to him, fast for 3 days, or feed 6 poor persons, each with half of a sa' of food. And 1 sa' is 3 kilograms approximately. and shave your head. So he was told that he should offer the fidya and then eventually he can shave his head. So we see that our deen is a deen that is very realistic. It is a deen that is practical. Once a person makes the intention to perform the Hajj, he is going on a journey. He's traveling. And anything can happen. Anything can happen. So the solution has been given. If you're unable to continue, if you become ill, you have to cut the hair, you have to get out of the state of ihram, then you have the permission to do so. But because you made the intention to do something good, you can't just leave it incomplete. You have to give fidya. You have to give some ransom. Why fidya? To save yourself from punishment. Because remember that once a person intends to do something, especially a ritual, then he has to complete it. He has to complete it. And if he's not completing it, then there is some haraj, some loss. And to make up for that loss, he has to give fidya. فَإِذَا, so when, أَمِنْتُمْ, you became secure. Now, another situation is mentioned. Remember I told you at the beginning that this ayah tells us about Hajj and Umrah performed in the time of war and also in the time of peace. So the first two situations were situations that were difficult. Now, a person is in peace. Amintum is from Hamza, Mim, Noon. Meaning you are secure, you are under normal conditions, you're not prevented, and there is no threat of the enemy. You are not prevented from completing your Hajj, then complete your Hajj and Umrah. And when you complete your Hajj and Umrah, then what do you have to do? فَمَنْ, then whoever, تَمَتَّعَ بِالْعُمْرَةِ, he took benefit, he took advantage of the Umrah. Tamatta'a is from the root letters Mim, Ta, Ain. Mata'. And what does mata' mean? Benefit. But remember that this word mata', it gives a meaning of temporary benefit, temporary enjoyment. Tamattu' is to enjoy. It is to take advantage. It is to benefit from something. So whoever took advantage of what? Bil-umrati, with performing the umrah, ila al-hajj, until the hajj. What does it mean by this? We learned that hajj is of several types. It is of 3 types. A person can perform any one of 3 types of hajj. Over here in particular, hajj tamattu' is mentioned. What are the 3 types of hajj? The first type of hajj is hajj ifrad, from fa, ra, dal. And hajj ifrad is that when a person intends to only perform the rituals of hajj. What are the rituals of hajj? Muzdalifah, Mina, Arafat, the tawaf, and the nusuk. That's it. Secondly, the second type of hajj is hajj qiran. What is hajj qiran? Qiran is from the same root as the word Qur'an. So qiran is the hajj in which a person joins hajj and umrah with only one ihram. So he takes on the ihram once and he joins hajj and umrah both. The third type of hajj, which is mentioned over here in this ayah, is called hajj tamattu'. It is called hajj tamattu'. And what is that? That a person takes on the ihram for umrah first. He goes and performs the umrah. And then what does he do? He waits until the days of hajj. And then, when the time of hajj comes, he puts on the ihram again for hajj. So basically, tamattu' is 2 ihram, 1 umrah, and 1 hajj. 1 umrah and 1 hajj. But 2 ihram. It's different from qiran. Qiran is hajj and umrah but 1 ihram. Tamattu' is that you go, you perform the umrah with your ihram on, and then you remove your ihram, you come out of the state of ihram, and then when the time of hajj comes, then you put on the ihram again. And this type of hajj is the one that is most commonly performed. Which is why when you go for hajj generally, how is it? Those of you who've gone. You go a few days, a week or 2, 10 days, before the actual day of hajj. And what do people do? They go there, perform their umrah right away. After a few days, then again they put on the ihram for Hajj. And it's called tamattu'. Why? Because a person is traveling and he takes advantage of performing umrah as well. But it's benefit in another way. How is there benefit? That between umrah and Hajj, he is out of the state of ihram. The restrictions of ihram don't apply on him. Just imagine a person goes for 2 months. Just imagine. For an entire month and a half in the middle. Imagine a man, he's wearing white sheets for a month and a half. Imagine if it's winter. What is he going to do? This is the tamattu'. This is the enjoyment. This is the ease that has been given. So whoever enjoys the benefit of performing umrah in Hajj months, and then when the days of Hajj come, he puts on the ihram for Hajj, then he performs the Hajj, then what does he have to do? فَمَا, then whatever إِسْتَيْسَرَ مِنَ الْهَدِي, whatever was easily available of the sacrificial animal. Meaning when a person performs Hajj tamattu', then he has to offer the sacrificial animal. And notice the word إِسْتَيْسَرَ. إِسْتَيْسَرَ. Whatever is easily available. Whatever you can afford. Even if it's 1 sheep or 1 goat. Or if it's 20 goats. Or 20 camels. Whatever you can easily afford. But remember that this is the part of Hajj. This is not a fidya. This is part of Hajj. This is not fidya. Now the question is, why does he have to give the hadi? Why does he have to offer the sacrificial animal? Why is it a must on this person? Out of gratitude. That he was able to enjoy Umrah and Hajj and also the free time in the middle. In which he enjoyed praying in the Haram. He benefited from the Haram. He enjoyed performing the Tawaf without the restriction of Ihram upon him. But what if a person cannot afford? What if a person thought he could afford, which is why he went, but he goes there and unexpected expenses pop up and he runs out of money and he doesn't have the money to afford an animal? Or he intends to offer a sacrificial animal, but by the time he goes to purchase the animal, there are no animals left. What is he going to do? Is his Hajj going to be cancelled? Allah says, فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ. So whoever does not find, meaning he cannot find the means or he cannot find the animal to sacrifice, then what is he going to do? فَصِيَامُ, then he's going to fast. How much? ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ, 3 days. When? فِي الْحَجِّ, during the Hajj. What does it mean by 3 fasts during the Hajj? Meaning during the months of Hajj. 3 fasts during the months of Hajj. And it has been said that this is until the 7th of Dhul Hijjah. Because once the Hajj begins, then during the Hajj days you cannot fast. Basically during the day of Arafah he cannot fast. And some say that then he can fast in the Ayyam Tashriq. So, a person should fast for 3 days during the time of Hajj. وَسَبْعَةٍ, and 7 fasts when إِذَا رَجَعْتُمْ, when you have returned. You have returned where? You have gone back home. So 3 fasts in the state of Ihram or during the months of Hajj, and 7 when you go back home. When you have completely carried out the rituals of Hajj. So the 3 are going to be performed in the state of Ihram, in the time of Hajj, except for the day of Arafah, except for the day of sacrifice. And 7 are going to be performed when a person goes back home. تِلْكَ عَشَرَةٌ كَامِلَةٌ. This together is how much? 10. So basically, a person cannot fast less than 10 days. He has to complete 10 fasts. That is the ransom for not offering a sacrificial animal. ذَلِكَ, that is. What does ذَلِكَ refer to? This command with regards to fasting for the one who is not able to offer the sacrificial animal. This is for who? Liman, for the person who lam yakun ahluhu, his family is not hadiri, ones who are present. Where? Al-Masjid al-Haram, in the sacred masjid. Hadiri is a plural of hadir. And remember, hadiri is actually hadirina. The noon has been eliminated. Why? Because hadiri is being connected with al-masjid. And hadir is from hudur, which means to be present. So hadir, one who is present. So this command is for the one whose family is not present in the sacred masjid. What does it mean by this? It means this is for the one who is not a resident of the area of Haram, who is not a resident of Makkah. And if he is a resident of Makkah, then he doesn't have to give the nusuk. He doesn't have to offer the sacrificial animal. وَاتَّقُوا and fear Allah. Fear Allah in performing the Hajj rites, in performing the rituals of Hajj. وَاعْلَمُوا and you should know that أَنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ, that Allah is severe in penalty. Many times when it comes to performing rituals, we say, oh, Allah is Ghafurur Rahim, it's okay, no big deal, doesn't matter. But notice what Allah is saying over here. Fear Allah, take these instructions very seriously, and remember, know that Allah is severe in taking retribution. Iqab is from the root letters Ain, Qaf, Ba, and iqab is used for punishment. And it's from aqib. Aqib is heal. So iqab is such punishment that follows a wrong action. Adab is a punishment that could be given to an innocent person even. يَسُومُونَكُمْ سُوءَ الْعَذَابِ. Bani Israel were innocent, but they were inflicted with adab. But iqab is a punishment that is given to one who is guilty, one who has done something wrong. So remember that if you do not abide by these commands, if you do not follow the instructions, then there are consequences. So we learned that Hajj and Umrah, they're rituals of Hajj, and we have to take them very seriously. We have to make sure we complete them. If we're unable to complete them, then we should benefit from the allowances that Allah has given and make up in whatever way that Allah has commanded us to. And we should be sure that we make up, because Allah is severe in retribution. And those people who are performing Hajj Tamattu. And Hajj Tamattu is the Hajj in which a person goes for Umrah, and then he gets out of the state of Ihram, and he puts on the state of Ihram again, he enters the state of Ihram again to perform Hajj. And when he performs Hajj Tamattu, we learn over here that a person has to offer a sacrificial animal. That is a must for Hajj Tamattu. And if a person is unable to do so, for whatever reason, then he has to fast. How many fasts and when? First of all, فَصِيَامُ ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ فِي الْحَجِّ. He has to fast 3 during the days of Hajj. What does it mean by fil Hajj? Meaning in the state of Ihram, while he is still there, in his journey of Hajj, in the months of Hajj. And then he has to fast 7 more, وَسَبَعَةٍ, when إِذَا رَجَعْتُمْ, when you've gone back home. So when a person returns home, then he's going to keep 7 more fasts. And that is a total of 10 fasts. And this command, ذَلِكَ, this command, which command? Of giving the sacrificial animal, sacrificing the animal, and if a person is not able to sacrifice the animal, then fasting for 10 days, is for who? It is a must for the person who is not a resident of Makkah. The one who is resident of Makkah, then he does not need to offer any nusuk, any sacrificial animal when he performs Hajj. Then Allah says, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. Fear Allah and know that indeed Allah is severe in retribution. So basically we see taqwa is mentioned again over here. Taqwa is mentioned again over here. Ibadah cannot be performed properly without taqwa. It's the fear of Allah, it's the love of Allah, it's a consciousness of Allah that truly brings the spirit to the worship. that a person performs. If there is no fear of Allah, then there is no spirit in the worship. And when there is no spirit in the worship, there is no sincerity in the worship, a person's heart is not in it, then he doesn't even care about the rituals. He doesn't even care about the do's and the do-nots. And also we learn that taqwa and ibadah always go hand in hand. We learned at the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, all of the human beings, they were invited to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? So that they develop taqwa. So the objective of all these acts of worship is that we increase in our fear of Allah. Is that we increase in our consciousness of Allah. Let's listen to the recitation.
What?
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.